He realized that with no outside sound to distract him, he was listening for the first time to his own heartbeat, and the rush of water was his own blood, circulating the oldest of memories, the impossibility of silence.
My main practice these days is I use these small microphones, and I bring them with me everywhere. And so I had Pamela put the headphones on, and we recorded this group of school kids coming and eating lunch, and then the church bells came, and then the bicycle arrives, and then the man with the card. It's like a whole cinema already, right? Like it's a total movie. And her eyes were like, wow, like there's so much going on here, right? In the center of this city, of this small town, of this big city. And so I guess this is already part of some new project.
The sounds?
Yeah, sure. The sounds of here in Winterthur.
Okay, I look rather gone. What should I say?
Your relation to this mourning, to paying attention to persons who disappeared, who died.
Uh-huh.
Your way to keep them alive in your films, in your images and sounds.
Yes. I need to represent only the minor literature, as Kafka would put it, or only the fragment. And so some of my friends have died, and they've lived sometimes very unusual or marginal lives. Like my friend Tom, I made a long movie about him. It was a way of being with him in those last months, of his life. I love to work, and he loves to live. So it's just like a perfect combination. And it's like, film me, great. And he was quite infirm because he had Parkinson's. So he alternated between freezing up entirely and like shaking uncontrollably. And he'd reinvented himself sexually so many times. He, as a way to grieve his brother, who he's very, very close to, he started a very deep practice of sadomasochism in various clubs, and he was a top. But then it's very hard to be a top when you can't control your body, right? So then it's like, okay, I guess I have to be a bottom now. So okay, I have to be tied up and like that. And so Tom, even though he could hardly move out of his chair, like really even getting down the stairs was like an epic. It would be like climbing the Alps, here. So, but Master Tony would come every Sunday with a car and bring him to Brooklyn, and then they would have these crazy scenes together. Anyway, it's like, wow, he really can live, And so somehow the movie should be about his living, not about his dying.
My mother said she took music lessons in a large town near the small town where she lived, and that she had seen a number of romantic movies which she wanted to emulate the kissing scenes to, which she found very appealing. She was, I think, 16 or 17, and she began kissing her piano teacher, and they apparently had sex, and some months later she realized she was pregnant.
You love to film yourself.
Myself?
You on one hand yourself, but you like, on the other hand, to film to be the at the camera.
Yes.
And you practice since many years as a thief.
Stealing other
Stealing.
people's pictures.
That's what's important. Stealing images, and especially in the Hollywood treasure. So tell us about this, your appetite, your love in pictures made by other ones, which you integrate in your own vision.
Yesterday I showed this movie called Rain, and it's mostly made of a single Michael Jackson video. So beautiful. Stranger in Moscow. You know, it shows these people, these lonely people in a city, and it's photographed with intimacy, care, you know, really delicacy, black and white, shadows, wow. And so I just clipped Michael out of the, except for the end, you know, where he tosses his hair in the rain, you can't see. And I gave each of these people a voice. I feel like I live through other people's pictures, like they offer me a new possibility of being alive. So, but I'd like to ask you, Jean, because for many years, you know, you ran this festival in Nyon, and you watched so many movies, year after year. So, why do you need to see so much? Like, why this? Is it like gluttony? Like, I need more. And then some of these pictures, they stick with you. You know, you can't let them go, right? They come to live inside you, right? I mean, could you speak about some of them?
Yeah, I'm watching so many films till now, and again and again, just to find the picture, the scene, the shot, the story, which makes my life possible. You know, I'm living. I find my ways, my steps. I walk the walk, like Robert Kramer said. You know, to walk the walk. I love this expression in English. To walk the walk. And I walk the walk with films, with images, with sounds, with cinema. It's my way to find myself, my identity, to question myself, and to build up a relation with people, with you, with people, different persons, all around me. Not just here, but also in other parts of the world. Cinema is a way to try to understand what's different between you and me. We are not living in a global village. That's bullshit, you know. We are not the same guys in the same village. That's completely big lie. So,
right.
So we are so different. And these differences are fantastic, beautiful, amazing. And we don't have to lose that, to forget that. That's why cinema is a way to live, yeah.
Yeah.
You said before your friend was living, he was dying, and he loved to live. And you love to work. But living and working is the same, no?
Living and working, it must be the same. As someone who chronically overworks, who would know this better than you?
But be serious. You work so much, and for months and years you forgot your more private and intimate life.
Yes, I've really left it behind for many years.
And
I'm only recovering it only in the last...
To be on the edge, to tackle the death, the idea to be exhausted in a point to leave life.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when one of my fatal illnesses was hepatitis C. It's a disease of the liver, and it slowly destroys your liver, and then you die. And they had developed a treatment for it. It's very, very, very harsh, using old cancer drugs. So I would have to inject myself, and it creates not only bad physical symptoms, but mentally it depletes serotonin. So, you know, people that are depressed, they give them these pills which give them more serotonin. So I was like anti-serotonin, zip, and so I experienced depression like for the first time in my life, even though nothing was wrong. I would have these like crying fits in the middle of nowhere for no reason, you know. And anyway, it was punishing, 6 months. But of course, during this period, like, I had to make films, right? I was working with my editor, Mark Karbusitsky, who committed suicide later. I had to make a film about Mark. And I would, it was very hard for me to stay awake. I would keep, like, collapsing in the editing. So, you know, like, Mike, are you okay? No, I'm fine, Mark. No, I'm good. So the fourth shot, like, could we make it a bit, you know, more green? I think it should be better, you know, right? Yes, of course, right. And you know, we would try to find our way.
you don't like so much the surfaces of pictures. You like to discover what is going on inside of one picture, and then you work on layers of pictures.
What do you mean by the inside of the picture? Tell me.
You're interested to discover what a picture was a shot doesn't want really to show, to share. And when you integrate John Wayne, for instance, your hero, John Wayne, this American fantastic hero and bastard, John Wayne.
This fascist.
You like him so much that you want him in one of your films. You want to discover what is going on a different way, different layer, and to integrate that in your reflection about world and cinema and action.
Yeah. There was I was invited to your university to work with the Archives of the Red Cross. And I came across this very brief moment of these two people, and one has total power and is the authority and the professional, and the other one is nearly naked, is Vietnamese. And of course, the person in power is white, goes without saying, and the person without power is a person of color, goes without saying. And she's tending to him. His body is like being led, being bathed, like things are being done to him, But I couldn't help noticing in this little scene that, like, actually they're the same age, Oh, wait, like this could be a kind of love story, right? What if he talked? What would he have to say about this? What would it mean for me as a Vietnamese boy of 19? And there I am with my burn marks, and then this beautiful 19-year-old nurse is like, washing my wounds so tenderly. It's like, wow, it's already a kind of fantasy, I wanted to point the camera from the other side, imagining his voice, imagining their time together, not as master and slave, but as something maybe they could create by themselves, a different kind of picture, a picture of how the two of them could come together, even in this place, A moment of resistance then, love as resistance, a political resistance also.
Political point of view.
Yeah. That a person of color, of course, is totally equal to a person that's white. And even though she's wearing the clothes of a professional, but we can still, there could still be this meeting, this face-to-face, as Levinas says.
But you discovered that because you paid special attention inside of the shots. So you're showing something different. That was the first issue of these pictures.
I mean, of course, the point of these pictures was to show, yes, but the Red Cross is a noble and virtuous organization which treats these poor savages in Vietnam to, and look at the treatment they're getting, so careful, and we see various shots of doctors, performing their professional duties, etc. And of course, on one level, they're correct, but also embedded within these pictures is an ideology of like white supremacy, of colonialism, right? And it's simply, the camera is used as a tool of hierarchy. It's to show like who's the boss, and it emphasizes over and over again, the center of the picture, of course, is always the white person. Even if we're in Egypt, even if we're in Lebanon, even if we're in Mozambique, like always, like, okay, where's that white person? Oh, there we are. Okay, now we can make a picture, right? And who's behind the camera? Oh, some professional. It's of course shot in 16 millimeter, super beautiful, and also a white person, right? Like, wow, it's like white solidarity, And then everyone else is like extras, What would it mean to be an extra in your own country, Whew.
Mike, you are a very gifted filmer of bodies, faces and bodies. And in my very personal, intimate geography of pictures, I kept till my death, I guess, Amy. Could you speak about your passion to film bodies and faces in order to make out of them not only ghosts, but really persons we could live with?
When I look at this face, I almost said her face. I almost said when I look in her face. I think she never had a childhood. She was never a teenager. She was always responsible, grown up. She always did the right thing or tried to. And she didn't waste her time. She didn't fuck around. The only problem she really had, this woman Jean, this face, the only problem she really had was that she was never all that happy.
The hope of this project, of the Amy project, like, could the picture talk back? The picture that had no voice, the voice is always the voice and the view of the photographer, the master, and once again, like old and young, man versus woman, this kind of harsh dichotomies, and the cost of looking, the cost of being looked at. Like, could the picture talk about the cost of being looked at?
Your time you dedicate to her face, your way to approach her, and then to keep distance again, is also ways to discover what is behind the first appearance of her, and of most of the characters you're filming. No?
Yeah. Her face is a universe which will never come to the end of, and she's reflecting on her face. Even at one point, she says "her," as if her face belongs to someone else. And there's some curious quality where her face seems so much older, seems to know things that her body will grow into later, almost like like Clytemnestra, like her face is a kind of prophecy, in a sense, and there's a tragic destiny that's written in her face, which she's meeting, and which hurts her to see, in a way. Sometimes people can give us parts of our face, I think. It allows some part of our face, which could be unknown, which could be mysterious, a secret even to ourselves, but it allows us to explore something in our lives, explore some new kind of relationship, or maybe I could live a year or in a different way, more open, But sometimes you meet people and they take something, from your face. And you see it very often, especially as, people get older. Parts of my face are like frozen, they're stuck, they're immobile, like I had an encounter, or I've had encounters, and then sometimes, with illness or some people, and then you can't let them go, or they live inside my face in a difficult way. You're marked or wounded by these people, so it seems inevitable.
It looks like he's here, but he's not. He is such a master of disappearance that his vanishing act goes unnoticed at normal speed. Look at the crease in his brow, the tight mouth clenched. The magician begins in anger. As the camera pulls away, he covers up that feeling, the thing he can't say, even to himself. Here, Mark shows us his first and best disguise, the mask of happiness.
You're filming, you're editing, you're writing, you're speaking in your films. Your voice is often a part of the dramaturgy. Tell us this attention you pay to all these different ways to express something in a whole gesture. You're writing on the pictures sometimes.
Yes.
We see your handwriting.
Like graffiti, in a way, as if, especially with stolen pictures, and then sometimes they need some words, some language, so that, as you say, like some meanings, or the subject can speak back, or that they could become a subject. The question of the voice, I think, is so important. When you look back at movements of liberation, women's liberation, gay liberation, Black Power, very often the keynote in these movements is the question of the voice, giving voice to the voiceless. One of my latest films, it's called Threshold, you haven't seen yet, but I'll show you. It's exactly about this question of the voice. I took a poem by Ocean Vuong. He's an amazing poet, Vietnamese guy, a boat person, barely survived. He held his father while he died. It's tragic. He writes like incredible, intimate poems about his father's body. The voice, yes, so important.
Bodies of human beings, faces, and one of your films is especially special. And it's Three Dreams of Horses.
I was thinking very much about my friend Mark when I was watching this footage of this very curious footage, this scene. It's a rainy day. It's in Portugal, and there's a number of people, and there's a number of horses that are just on the roadside. Like there they are, and they're not going anywhere. They're not doing anything, spectacular. They're not part of a circus or whatever. They're not part of a parade, and they're not there to be seen, But it's as if there could be this mingling, as if for a moment we could be in the same place, as if we could meet each other face to face. In fact, there they are. Like here we are. We're face to face. So the scene very, very compelling, a kind of curious utopia, And so I projected myself into one of these horses, and I gave it a voice, like to talk about, masters and slaves, and the question of love. Like, could you be a master of all these animals? Could you eat all these animals? Could you treat animals all this way and still be a creature that could love? What implications does it have? To try to need to be so on top all the time, right? This imperial project, which I think we recreate even in our intimate lives, right?
In this case, it's your or not your footage of the horses?
No, it's not my footage, but I remade it one frame at a time on the optical printer, a machine I hope I will never have to use again. It's very painful to use. And so I could isolate certain moments of the frame. The optical printer allows you to re-photograph original film footage, one frame at a time, and you can reframe, you can change exposures, you can use different camera stocks to emphasize different qualities of the image, So it's also a way to touch these pictures, yeah.
Who are you? Who are you, Mike-hoolboom? I mean, because we know something about you as a filmmaker. You tell many stories in different ways. Cinema, short films, feature films, essayistic films, other ones which are more narratives, okay, and books and articles. Where do you keep this energy to pay attention to so many different aspects of creation?
I made 2 books this year. One is about my friend Jorge Lozano. He's made like more than 100 films, and I asked, so I thought, well, let's write about 40 or 50 movies. Just 250 words each. Let me convene a kind of a small community within the pages of this book. So I asked many different people if they would write from all different perspectives. And the second book is about Philip Barker. He's a local filmmaker. And I asked only luminous people, super intelligent, only the best, like Jean Perret, for instance, contributed to this book. And so I wonder if maybe you could say something about your experience about meeting this person vicariously, and you yourself, of course, are someone that not only is receiving pictures, but you feel the need to translate these experiences that you feel in your body. You translate them into words over and over again. You do that with great feeling, eh? Sure. It gives me hope. It gives me hope for the cinema to go on. So I wonder if you could say something about that. Why do you have this need to translate into words?
I received a gift. When I was running the festival, we received gifts, which are the films. And like in any ethnographic studies, you receive something, you give something. It's an exchange, of course. If not, you're going to be outcasted, So I receive a film from you. I know nothing about the film, nothing about the filmmaker. And I don't want to know nothing. Just to discover the film, really, have no background information, and to try to write about it. And writing is not, if I may say, not as a journalist, but as a very humble writer,
Like you write alongside, like with your own poetic reveries and dreams, right? Like you should also, your subjectivity, it should be, it's necessary that it's part of this text, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
So it's always a gift coming, receiving a film from Toronto, and film
Exotic,
which is
far away.
completely strange and unusual. And then it's a way to be active, to be creative, to have thoughts, and not only to be in the daily life of habits. No, it's a way really to enlarge fantasies, and this is also a kind of resistance of a way to tackle the borders between the genders of cinema, documentary fiction, experimental. Everything is not interesting. It's just to. But these films we're speaking about, and many films I'm writing now also for a new Film Explorer website. It's a way to try to not only to describe something, but to be in interaction, intellectual and poetic interaction.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think films so often invite us to jump into the bodies of other people for a moment. Not so that we can imagine that we know everything that they know, but so that we could, something of their experience, something of their otherness could touch us, And then on the other side of that touch, I think, is this fathomless mystery, like the infinite, this, like looking up at the night sky, looking up at this, the infinite mystery of what someone else, of who someone else actually is. And in the cinema, I can feel this, like jumping into bodies over and over again, and then coming back to your own body and feeling like, oh, wow, I've transformed. Something's different now,
In some films, in one especially, we see you and your body. You have been ill.
Yeah.
You have been facing death.
Yeah, sure.
And now, since years and decades, you're still working. Where do you keep this energy to go on, to walk the walk, to walk your walk?
Yeah, I don't know. I should have died in 1996, I think. Yeah. But that was the year that science invented the cocktail for AIDS. And so I was granted the second life. And it created both a subject, like a new kind of frame, as I was part of a whole generation of people that were dying. So it's strange living after your death, And it also gives a certain kind of urgency. I think at this moment, like, this is a very peculiar moment for the cinema. It's never been easier to make movies in many ways, in many respects. This digital revolution, this laptop cinema, like, it fulfills the old utopian dream that everyone could be an artist, that the means of production, not only production but also distribution and exhibition, could be located within an individual. So it's like fantastic. And then on the other hand, just so much like so much corporate crap, and then so many individual visions that just look like it's like people longing to be a corporation or something. It's really discouraging in some sense. How to make pictures in this moment of overexposure, in this moment of too muchness, in the glare of the too many pictures that we're constantly consuming. I think this is it's a beautiful new question, and each artist will have to find an answer for themselves.
But about your energy?
The energy.
So you're speaking about a kind of rebirth, a new consciousness?
Yes. Also, it's so exciting to be with students who are opening and discovering things. It's like watching someone fall in love for the first time. It's like, wow, it just gives me so much energy, Or it's like some visitor comes to your city, and then you start seeing things, the things that you pass by every day. Oh yeah, that bridge. All of a sudden, oh yeah, that bridge. Wow, the ironwork, the sounds that it makes. You can start living. It's like a constant renewal. So, yeah, there's many films that need to be made.
The very last shot you made with your camera, you think it will be deeply rooted in your memory.
It's possible, but it's possible it could be nothing, right? It's just like
But could you mention one?
one shot.
Yeah.
In the room that I'm staying in, the light in the mornings is super beautiful, and it comes through these a series of windows, so it creates bars, and the wall is green, like a vast green expanse. And so I moved as a shadow slowly across these bars, kind of like stooped, a little broken, you know? I was very jet lagged, I was very tired, even though I was trying to sleep. And so, I don't know, it's an image of aging somehow, an image of having to live with your limitations, let's say.
And do you have a kind of nostalgia of film, of picture you would have made, but you will never shoot? It's kind of impossible image, the lost image you will never have in your work.
No, I just steal that, Joe. There's no need to long for an image you don't have. You just take it, you know? And then turn it into some other totally different direction. There's such a pleasure in that, you know? Yes. Like, you know, like any thief. It's like, I love your kitchen table, but it looks so much nicer in my kitchen.